Good evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have on Brian. Brian is from the legendary Diamond Head. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've been listening to. Oh, we're talking about. We're going to celebrate the re-release of "Light to the Nations," which a lot of the tracks have been on different title albums, but has been out. God, I know these songs. So hearing them re-released and redone is awesome for me because I've heard them since I was a teenager, and
Yeah, yeah.
those are landmark songs. Those are songs. I don't even. You have to tell me like when you wrote those songs, there was nothing like it. I go back in time. I can't. Even at the time, I heard nothing that sounds like that.
Well, that's very nice of you to say so. I always think it has to come from somewhere. Uh, I mean, we were obviously listening to bands of the time, the classic '70s bands like
Right.
Sabbath and Judas Priest and Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin. But somehow the four guys seem to come up with something new, in my opinion. And some of the songs, like Me to the Nations and The Prince, I feel it's hard to say where they came from. It is
Right.
quite like we almost found an original style. I
And I
mean,
agree.
we were
It's
very
insane.
interested in upping the tempos and making things exciting live. Of course, before we had a record out, we used to do gigs and no one would know any of the material. So we soon learned that the fast songs were the winners. The slow songs would seem to be a bit boring and the crowd,
Oh yeah.
might lose interest. But we realized this, the fast songs, when we wrote things like It's Electric and Wild on the Streets and Helpless and stuff, um, they would get the crowd going. So we became kind of, almost thrashy before the people
Before,
use that
yeah.
term, but
Were you doing
exciting
any
stuff.
covers in the beginning? Were you doing any
We did
covers?
the odd cover. We weren't very good at playing covers. I can remember us, I mean, we'd only rehearse in my bedroom or in a friend's garage and things like that. So we'd
Yeah.
occasionally do. We've done Paranoid, we've done Motorhead, we've done Space Station Number Five. We did this song by a New York band called the Tough Darts, called "It's All for the Love of Rock and Roll," that we heard on the John Peel show. But we didn't do many covers. We were, as I say, we weren't very good at it. We used to jam the Ripper, but I couldn't work all that that middle eight bit out. I couldn't get it, so it didn't get very far.
It, well, you know what it is. It's interesting to me because when I heard it and I heard it then, even listening now and listening to it over the years, I'm like, I don't know where I can't even resource. You got the ideas or the. I guess the closest thing is that I read. You talk about Zeppelin and maybe Deep Purple, only in something about the song structure, not sounding anything like them, but the
Mhm.
freeness of Zeppelin, what Zeppelin would do like three different songs in one song, which is what you guys would
Yes,
do. That is something I feel, but not the sounds by any means.
yes, and I also think a song like "Victim of Changes," where it's got that bit
Yes,
where it goes down in the middle, and I think that might have been an inspiration for a song like "Sucking My Love," where you've got the big section and then it goes down, a big solo, builds back up again to a big crescendo. Uh, so as I say, I think a lot of it was pretty original, pretty much. Excuse me, the four guys sort of coming together and sparking each other off. But it must have come from somewhere. But at least we weren't just a blueprint, say we
right.
all love, say, Black Sabbath, so we're going to end up sounding like Black Sabbath. That wasn't the case. We all like different things, and we were able to bring different things to the mix. And I think we got something new out of it, which I always think is the way it should be. In the '70s, it seemed like there was lots of very original
Yeah.
bands who were all doing their own thing, and they were not similar in any way. And then as you move forward, you start saying, well, these sound like that band and they sound like that band, until now sometimes a band comes on the radio, for example, and I don't know who it is. It just sounds like it could be Metallica, it could be, I don't know who it is half the time. Like some bands have lost that idea
Right.
of striving for originality.
You better know it's Metallica though. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta know James' voice. No, I'm teasing. Yeah, Metallica is one of the best things that Metallica did, and is by them celebrating that music, and actually a bunch of them through the years, to and brought it to a lot of people that would not have been aware of it. Um,
Yes, that's
I was
fair.
one, I have to say. Oh, actually, no, my friend actually had your tape, Behold the Beginning, and I heard
Okay.
it, and but he also was listening to Metallica and Helpless, and like everything was out there. So I don't know the timeline, but I heard that you guys were on the same time actually. Though to me, it wasn't like
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we were slightly ahead of Metallica because we
yes,
formed in '76 and they formed in '81. But yeah, I mean, thanks to Metallica, a lot of our songs got a new lease of life. And also, we recorded that album, that original album, so quickly and cheaply. Like the whole thing was recorded and mixed in a week. So it wasn't like Metallica had to worry about the production, or it's
right.
not like you're copying say a Led Zeppelin song or something, where there's a lot more layers and work gone into it. The Diamond Head stuff was pretty raw and pretty much done quickly. By there
But a
wasn't
good song is a good song, Brian. A good song is a good song, no matter how you cut
I,
it.
that must have been what they saw in it. They probably thought the production is nothing special, but the song is there then, and yeah, they could see through that. That's
Oh,
fair.
totally, totally, totally. I think, and is this a true? Like when you guys did that album, did you really sign a deal that gave away like a bunch of your publishing for like
Yeah, yeah. Because the guy who owned the studio,
was it 50%
all
for the people that don't know? Was it like
50%,
50%?
yeah.
Oh my God, I'm
The
gonna have a
guy
heart
who
attack hearing that.
understood, I know, terrible,
Oh,
terrible.
I
But
hope he's
we
in
were
jail.
only 19, 20, so we were very naive. We didn't know,
Not you. It's on
we
him. That's
probably never
bad.
read a contract or anything. So the guy who owned the studio also owned a label called Happy Face Records,
Oh,
and he also had a publishing company called
he knew better.
probably Happy Face Music. And he said, as far as I'm aware, if you we'll let you have a week in the studio to make your record, and I'll have in return, instead of you paying me, I'll have 50% of your publishing. And we probably thought, okay, that seems like a good deal. But of course, we signed away 50% of our publishing for 15 years. And then
Oh,
of course, as Metallica started selling records, we realized we were losing money.
oh
So
my God.
we had to get a bit legal on
Well, this is
that.
he. Well, I mean, the fact that he had all that advantage and knowledge, he was really just taking advantage of you guys.
Oh, totally.
That was just kind of. It wasn't like he was
Exploit.
trying to recoup something. He was really just,
Yes.
you know.
Oh, he made a load of money out of this. Yeah, by doing nothing, by letting us have a week in his studio.
I mean, some of the best producers, and I can even say off the top of my head, like Steve Albini will go in, like he did Nirvana. He didn't. He's like, I take a salary. I don't take points on the artist. I will not take away. He could have been, from Nevermind. He could have been crazy rich, but he just took a salary because that's not what you do. You don't take away from an artist. You know.
Yeah, I think if you're a writer like Mutt Lang, for
But that's
example,
yeah, a little different.
he co-wrote all the Def Leppard songs, so that's fair enough. But if you
Right.
if you're just the producer guy, then yeah, you're probably better off taking a fee, aren't you? It's fairer in the long
It's
run.
much more moral for a band. But and what were you thinking? Literally, like when in my Evo, when you start with song off, and you literally also you stop, and then you go to this like crazy guitar solo, and then just this heavy, heavy beat. Like once again, that just feels like it's something that came out of like a live performance or something. It was chopped together. But back then, there was nothing like that.
No, I think we would just keep making home demos. All we got was a cassette recorder, and we would write the songs, and we would listen to them and critique them. And we had nobody telling us what to do. There was nobody saying, "Oh no, you can't have a 7.5 minute song," and things like that. So we were left up to our own devices, and we were, we'd keep coming up with riffs, so we'd feel we've got to put them in. Oh, that's a great riff. We should put that in there. And as I've said before, Am I Evil took like over a year to write from when I first came up with the riff until we made the record, and even when we were making the record, we were still changing it. We changed the backing underneath the guitar
Right.
solo and things like that. So we'd keep adding and tweaking, and Sean would be forever refining his vocals and his lyrics. He'd sing a different lyric every night almost, but
Really.
once you'd record it on the record, then that would become the
It's
final.
legal.
Yeah, it becomes sort of okay. You can leave it alone now. You don't have to keep working on it, you know.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's like sometimes when you play guitar, and I've learned over the years and start playing guitar, you could really get an idea how a song is put together. You're like, oh, I see why he did that, or wow, this is some really cool chords. But even now, going back, I'm like, I don't get where you went from here to here. Like,
Yeah,
I
there is a
don't see the
trick
bridge.
here, isn't there? Yeah, but one of the things you need to get right is the links, like you sort of mentioned there, going from the verse to the bridge or the bridge to the chorus, and you sometimes find a little way of doing that that becomes
Oh,
yours.
yeah, it's brilliant. I just don't know how you thought of that because like usually you can
Yeah,
see it like out in front of you, and you're like,
I
nope, I'm
don't,
gonna create a new path. And now it's and
yeah,
what
I
we're
don't
talking
know
about.
either. Other than we did have a broad spectrum of taste. We liked prog bands like Yes and Genesis, and I used to listen to Gentle Giant and all sorts of bands. And I think the broad base helped with throwing ideas in the pot. We were all pretty much open to ideas, and whatever came in, what was the best idea. We'd be pretty good like that, pretty creative. I mean, when you're 19, 20, you've got nothing to lose. Have you? Your brain's open to any ideas that flying around. And we were very good at writing, particularly
Yeah.
Sean Harris and myself. We we were pretty quick, and we could bounce ideas. We could come up with a riff on the spot, or say, for example, if I came up with a riff, Sean would maybe come up with a chorus, and
Hmm.
he was really good at coming up with melodies on the spot, you know. So I could do a riff, and within a minute or something, he'd be there trying to come up with a tune, scat some lyrics. You'd sort of almost got half a shape within an hour or something, and we'd make notes and we'd record it so we didn't forget it. But yeah, we were very good at that. It wasn't labored. It seemed to flow, and it was very exciting. That was always one of my favorite parts, was the creativity of writing new songs.
And it's always a lightning in a bottle if you find a good songwriter that can help you create something
Very
new.
much so.
You
Very much
know.
so. I always thought everybody was like that, but it turns out
Now,
Sean was really good at it. So I've worked with other people, and it's like very hard. You have to wait and wait and wait, and some people are scared to put their ideas down in
yep.
case somebody criticizes it. But whereas Sean would just throw ideas out all the time, he must have had some kind of confidence or naivety where he was not worried about criticism and would just go with the flow, and
Or he has
it
a
just
comfort with you too. I mean, that's the other
it
thing
just
is,
worked. Yeah,
there's
yeah,
talent and there's comfort and there's a lot of layers to that where,
yeah,
and you guys just laid it out there because his voice is so good. And it was great because it was like heavy music, but it was also very melodic.
yeah, yeah,
It had so
yeah.
much different, out there, which was
Yeah, well,
fantastic.
Sean is kind of a bluesier singer, isn't he? A bluesy rock singer.
Yeah, I think that,
His
yeah.
favorite singers were like Paul Rogers,
Yep.
and he liked Robert Plant. But nobody done the screaming, had they? Then back in 1980, 81, we hadn't got the growling or the real
Right.
screaming. So the big rock singers were like Plant, Gillan, um, Dio, Coverdale, Rogers, people like that. So that's probably more where Sean was leaning, towards the classic rock singer rather than,
Right.
you
But you guys are so different though,
know,
because I know,
something.
well, but I'm saying you were so different because he had that melody, but you still had that rock, heavy
Yeah,
guitar. But
yeah,
because of the time, you had a very clean sound also. What were
yeah,
you
yeah.
using? What was your setup at the time?
It would just be Marshall. That's all there was.
What about your guitar?
Yeah, just a Marshall JCM. I can't remember. Maybe a jet. I can't remember. Probably with a distortion pedal for solos, and I had a Morley Power boost for solos. But you just try and get a good kerrang out of your amp, and mic it up, and away you go. We didn't have a lot of equipment. I had the Flying V. Sean had his Les Paul standard, and that's all we had. And we would try and make that work.
Well, maybe less. Sometimes it's less is better because you're focusing on it
Yeah,
and you
possibly
don't go
rather
down
than
the
have
rabbit hole, right? Like nowadays, how
100
much did you
amps
have?
to choose from. Yeah, yeah.
Now when you play, you're like, I have an idea for a riff, and you're like here, and you're tweaking, and you
Yeah,
module here, and next thing you know, like 3 hours are gone, and you're like, oh, what was that riff? Like you
yeah,
like,
yeah,
whereas back in the day, you're just like, I'm just gonna have to noodle out. We're gonna have to figure it out.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
right.
that's the danger of too much good technology being too awesome.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
we're celebrating. So this album has been re-released, and I think it's white vinyl, and it's out on all the digital platforms. What's the impetus to get it re-released? How'd you guys get your hands on it so you can finally start to get it back out there again and
Well,
celebrate it?
it's been it's been released over the years, but
Right.
normally there's been a 10-year licensing deal,
Mm.
and the last one ran out in 2021. That was with Universal. So because we're now with Silver Lining, we did the Coffin Train on Silver
Yeah,
Lining.
that was pretty good. I like that.
The re-recording of Lightning to the Nations in 2020. Um, the label Silver Lining said, "Yeah, we'd be interested in in some, any catalog you've got." And I said, "Well, Lightning to the Nations is due." Or runs out rather in 2021, so we could do that. So they got on board and they said, "Have you got any bonus material?" So I managed to, find what I could, and we've managed to put 5 tracks on there, which have never been released before, that I'd had for a few years in the cupboard, locked away, thinking that might come in handy one day.
Well, yeah.
And so we're able to put them on this as a real, extra thing for the fans who probably be interested to hear different versions.
Yeah,
And
I was pleased to hear
uh,
that, have
yeah,
it on there because having heard, the originals and stuff and the remasters, it sounds good. But it's nice to
great.
have the extra stuff on it. For me, it was what is it, 85, 86, 84 when I heard it. So I mean, you know, it's nice
Well,
to
we've
hear it.
done we've done everything we can to get the optimum quality out of the tapes, and yeah, I just thought people would like to hear these extra tracks, even though they're only mono, but there's different versions of the tracks, and once I got hold of them, I keep everything. I'm the archivist in the band, so I've had these tapes for probably I don't know, 5 years or something like that, 4 or 5 years. And at the back of my mind, I kept thinking one of the days this will happen, and we'll be able to use these for something. And so here we are. With this is the time.
Well, it's a good time for it too. Was there any kind of concern with putting it out because you're also still a band with Sean's not in the band? Any kind of like weird kind of thing,
No,
you
because
know?
it's like a classic. It's a classic album. I think everybody in the band appreciates that. That's the legacy of Diamond Head. Is that Sean was a different member, but he hasn't been in the band almost 20 years now.
Right.
So it's just that's what it is. No, no, nobody's worried about upsetting the apple cart or
Well,
anything.
I see that. As a
Yeah,
fan, I'm just saying like, but like, is it like more of a challenge when you get fans in there and you get another singer in there,
yeah,
and it's not better or worse. It's just different because
it's just
people
different.
change.
Yes,
But
yeah,
then you still got the people, and it's not just with your band; it's with every band. We want the original this. We want the original this. So finally, you got a point where you got some good albums out. You got a locked in singer. You got a good sounding band,
yeah,
and then people are finally going, okay. And then you do that again. They're like, oh yeah, hey, does this mean it's going to be this guy again? And you're like,
yes.
no, 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 no. This is just a re-release with some bonus stuff to celebrate our history.
That's right. That's exactly how it is. Yeah. Without this lineup, we wouldn't be. Oh, we've just come off tour with Saxon. We did 20 dates in Europe, and we've got another 16 to go. So without this lineup, without Rasmus on vocals, we wouldn't be an active band. Because
Yeah, I like Rasmus. Rasmus
Diamond
is
would have
good.
stopped. A long time ago. Without these guys being involved, and the energy they bring to the band.
That's awesome. How is it
Yeah,
touring now? Now with
it's great.
COVID and how is touring right now with COVID?
Well, it's there isn't that much of COVID being mentioned. It's more to do with the Brexit thing has caused a
Oh
problem. So
yeah, the whole
we've
European
had to
thing.
do
I'm in the US.
Carne. Yeah, Carnes have come back in where you have to list all the equipment and then you have to check it at the border, and it's really ridiculous. The common sense would say, well, we're a rock band. We've got the gear in the back, so that's our gear. We're not going to sell it. We're not. we're not dodgy. We're just
Right.
musicians. We're traveling musicians. This is our equipment.
There should be a pass for that. There should be like some kind of card or some
You
kind of
think?
musicians thing that you're a European musicians card that you
Yeah.
guys sign and follow those rules and you show it as a pass because everyone benefits from that.
Yes.
You
I
know,
mean, they should be able to tell. Okay, it's a proper band, right? You could look online, and in seconds you'd see it's a proper band. We're not, selling equipment to different countries. It's very strange
and
why
and the nefarious
have to
people are
do
not
it.
going through checkpoints. They're not going where you're to see them. They're already sneaking in. People that are going to countries that don't want to be seen are going in different
Yeah,
ways. They're not
yeah,
following the rules anyhow. So you're just
yeah.
punishing people that are following the rules.
That's
You know,
right. Yeah, and there's rumors like, oh, if you get caught, they could confiscate your gear, or you could get fined, and so you end up having to play the game. You have to pay like £1,000 to get this stupid car now, which is basically a load of pieces of paper in a plastic folder, and it just adds more pressure and expense on the touring band, and it's so unnecessary. But there it is.
so when this tour ends up, so what is the next tour plan with you guys? You gonna do some more
Well,
recordings or what?
no, we've got a couple of 2 weeks off now, and
Yep.
then we set back off again with Saxon. Uh, and we do 16 dates, another 16 dates with Saxon before December, and then we'll see what happens next year. We've got a few plans, but I better not say anything just yet.
That's all right. We're fans. We're not going anywhere. We'll be pleased to hear it. You know, those are all good things.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch the album a little bit more before I let you go. And I'm looking here. I got the album up on my side here. I'm looking. I just want to talk about. So you have. It's actually some of the stuff you put on there was from the Diamond Lights EP also.
That's right.
So it's almost like it's two albums. You have a couple of B sides, a couple demos. Then you also
Yeah.
have the four-song EP along with the original. Lighting to the
Yes.
Nations as cleaned up as you could. They're good anyhow.
Yes.
But you didn't rechange them. You didn't change your tunes. You didn't change it. So it's got the same guitar sound that you love. These are the original sounds, just a little crisper. You
Yes.
know.
Yes. Of course. Well, I mean, with modern technology, you can do a little bit more to the tapes, and get a little bit more out of them, and it's of course it's new artwork as well, isn't there, with
Yeah, it's
with
pretty
this.
cool.
Yeah, I'm really chuffed with the artwork. I think the label's done a great job, and everybody seems to be liking it, and it's on triple vinyl as well, which
Really,
Diamond's never done triple vinyl before, so the packaging is first class. So you know,
it
hope
feels like
people
it's
are
the album it should have been. It feels like it's getting the presentation it should have in the beginning.
a little bit. When it came out, as you probably know, it came out in a white sleeve with
Yeah.
no writing on and nothing, no photos, nothing. And it was a shame in a way, because people didn't know what it was. It was almost like it was the demo album. People used to, it got nicknamed the White Album. It's supposed to be like international, but people didn't know what to call it or anything. And over the years, it's continued to get to sort of earn its fan base, and people still like it after 40
Oh yeah.
years, which is astonishing. But it is almost like the cover it always deserved to have. Yeah, I feel
It feels like it because I mean, like honestly, when I said, "Oh, it's here," I listened to the old stuff and I'm like, "Oh, it's out again." Let me listen to it. And I'm listening to it. I'm like, I cannot believe still how exciting and fresh these songs sound at that time and to now. It's not like it doesn't sound like, oh, this sounds like so and so now. Still sounds fresh as ever. It's
that.
exciting. So people have heard it before. Obviously, check it out because there's a demos. There's everything there. It's great. You want to hear that. And if you're not a fan, that's why we're talking about these great songs. It's going to make you a fan to check everything else out. This is where it began. Behold the beginning. This is where it began. Lightning to the Nations, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what about the last thing I want to ask you about? Like, what about the other members? Have you had any feedback from the other guys
Uh,
in this?
you mean the original guys, Sean,
Yeah,
Colin?
are they like got any feedback from like, oh, it's out again, it looks great, or like anything kind of?
Not really. I still see Colin and Dunk occasionally, and we discussed all this, but they haven't really got back in touch about the new, because it's only been out of a few weeks, so I don't even know if they've seen the artwork and all that yet. And
Really?
I've been busy with this European tour, so I haven't had a chance to hook up really. So I'm sure that they'll be happy with it. They're fully aware that it was all coming out and it was
Right.
all above board.
I
But
would be excited about it if I was them. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I
it's a
mean,
legacy to be proud of.
I'm still I'm the guy who sort of it's my
Right, runs it.
band. I
Right.
formed the band, so I'm the guy who's kind of been in it for the long run. I'm still here, playing live, promoting it. So the other guys have kind of disappeared a bit off the scene. I don't know exactly. Colin and Dunk don't play anymore, but Sean, as far as I know, still writes songs, but doesn't do gigs or don't seem to make any records. So I don't know exactly what Sean's
Hmm.
up to, but it is what it is. It seems like there's only me that wanted to
Wave the
keep the
flag.
band going at all costs,
Well,
really.
and thank you for doing that. It's a good band. It was no way you shouldn't have stopped for any
It is
reason.
a good band, I agree. It
And
would have been a shame to let it disappear. It's
it
ever
would have
so
been a
easy
bigger
to
crime.
stop,
Bigger
give up.
crime than the
Yeah,
guy who took half your publishing. If you stopped.
yeah.
The fact you guys have persevered through so many things through the years. That's why people need to check you guys out. You push through everything, and I just think the other guys. It's just exciting looking back at the legacy of what they did on that album with
Yeah,
you. Would
yeah,
be very very exciting. I'm just saying, even if you weren't a musician anymore, being like, oh my god, it's coming out again. What are we doing to
yeah,
it now? What's the artwork? Like, I would be excited. I'd be calling you. Hey, what day is it going out? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
I know I had a
yeah.
solo
That's
job,
right.
but this is cool. This is a cool thing. You know. So
Maybe that because they're not involved on a day to day like I am, then maybe they're just happy to that was then and this is now. Maybe they're not um, that bothered
excited
about
about
the
it. That's probably
day.
why they're not doing music anymore, and you are because you just a little more.
Yeah,
The
that's it.
music's more
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah, that's right. I mean, when Colin left Diamond Head in 1983, he sold all his gear and never played again, never played the bass again. And we did have a jam in about 2000, but he got no gear and I had to lend him a bass. So, he just sort of, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here, I'm over it. So,
That's amazing. I've seen people do that. They quit and they sell all their gear, and then 2 years
yeah,
later they go back and they're like swearing because they lost their favorite guitars. Because you never give up a guitar that you don't want. You're like, I can give it up,
yeah.
and then you regret it. How many guitars do you have
I,
that you regret giving up in your life, right?
Yeah, I thought it was unusual to completely, I thought it wasn't that bad. Being in Diamond Head wasn't that bad. I didn't think. Yeah, it's been rocky, but I've never once thought, right, I'm going to give up. I'm going to sell all my gear. I'm going to become a gas meter reader or something. Um, so I thought it was a little bit strange to turn your back on it to that
Hold on,
extent.
right? Not make it a hobby or a weekend thing. Like music's in your blood when you see. That's pretty extreme.
Yeah, that's why
But
I think when you get into rock music, it is like you say in your blood. It's like it never leaves you, does it? I
no,
still
you
love
have to do
rock.
something. You have to do something. I'm doing a
50
show. I'm not playing out.
years.
I'm doing a show with you. You have
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
something to keep music alive.
I still love music. I listen to it. I go and watch bands. I enjoy playing. I enjoy making records. Uh, that's in me and always will be in me. So we're all different.
We are. Well, Brian, I want to thank you for being on the show and doing this and talking about this. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
It's been awesome, man. And not just, and I just want to say, don't just check out, once you get past this album, check out the other albums too, because Rasmus is a great singer and you've had some really great lineups and really good songs. You know, they're just different. It's just like having, it's like, I love that. It's like some of my favorite bands have different versions. You have two or three different versions of your favorite band, you know? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Don't
yeah,
compare the two because they're not. It's not the two. You can't compare people. It's just two. It's just another singer with more good songs from the same
yeah,
guitar player and songwriter.
yeah.
Is what it is.
Well, lots of bands have done it, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Replaced
yeah,
their
yeah.
singer and carried on. AC/DC carried on, and Iron Maiden.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah,
But I just want people that haven't heard the other stuff to check it out because the other stuff's really good too. So,
thank you.
all right, my brother. I want to thank you. You have a good day. Thanks. And people check out everything under the links. Will be on the show and go to the website and go everywhere and listen to the music. It's been great.